All right, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for our week 3 lecture for FD202 Fashion Business. I do apologize, we had to reschedule from our originally posted scheduled evening meeting last night. I had something come up and could not get it rescheduled. So I am recording our video since I know most everybody in the class works during the day, and that was my next opportunity to have some openings. This will be pretty short and sweet, but I do have a little slideshow to share with you. So let me hop on over to that, and it should be capturing here. All right, our intro to fashion business. You will get your credit for this, but in order for me to know that you have watched the recording, the link will take you to being able to watch the recording that will be in an assignment. And in that, just write up a little summary of what you viewed within this lecture, and you'll earn your 10 points. And then, as always, we've got the forum discussion each week, so make sure you take part in that. Remember, it's twofold. Post to the initial prompt for the discussion, and then post a reply to another student whose post is already in there. Now, in the case if this was a fresh discussion for this class and there are not many other posts in there, we do have 2 students currently in the class, so if you do not see another one in there, be sure you revisit the discussion before Sunday night and try to post, hopefully that other student will have posted then that you can do a reply. All right, in week 3, you were continuing with your dressy situation activity, and this week really had to do more on the money side of a job, and I'll go into that a little bit on the next slide here. I also brought in some information from chapter 4 of your textbook, defining the product. The scenario, this activity that we presented is one that you could take on with the skills that you learn in this program and as you practice your skills. But maybe not everybody actually wants to do the pattern making, designing a dress and or sewing one from a store-bought pattern, but maybe they don't really want to go into the construction of things. And yet there still is a lot of different sort of fashion-oriented businesses that you can start either from your home or as a small-based business. You have to be creative with it and think big picture. You've got to understand or remember our fashion industry encompasses so much. You are interested in blogging. I know one of our students is. You could actually begin to build a business with that. Some of it at first may just be something that you like to put out there of your talents and such, but the more that you can spread that on the internet, which kind of leads us into using the web to reach customers and an audience, the more and more followers you get noticed. Other websites and or magazines might want to feature you and your blog and or your opinions on some things. You can be looked at as an expert in certain areas and keep honing those kinds of skills. So that may be something. Another service you can offer is alteration services. It still incorporates the sewing, but you're just fixing things or readjusting something already made. You're not having to design it or make it from scratch. And I do highly recommend alterations. I think I've said it before. If you had not heard me say it before, I'm going to say it again and again. As an externship option, and think about this, are sites that are alteration shops. I learned so much when I was in college working at an alteration shop. It gave me exposure to all kinds of garments, men's and women's, that I would not have ever taken on as a project individually by myself at that point in my sewing career. It gave me the opportunity to look inside stuff, get my hands on, maybe take something apart a little bit and put it back together another way. And I learned so much just from doing that. The other thing it gave me was confidence. The more I repeatedly did something like hem pants and hem a skirt, I got better and better at it. I knew what I was doing. I felt confident with it. My work got better and better, and I got faster with it. So keep that in mind. Alterations is a great way to start because you have all the equipment really you need. You've got a sewing machine. Perhaps you might need to get an iron if you don't already have one. And then variety of thread as the projects come. You don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch until you know what color you need to try and match. But over time, you'll have a good base of colors that you'll be able to do most all of the work out of. So there's really not much overhead at all. All right, moving on though to arriving at our price and finishing the job. So one of your activities is to do a bid or a quote. They both really mean the same thing. You're giving an customer an expected price. They you've been a customer. You want to know, well, what should I expect to pay here? What's this going to cost me? You take your car in somewhere. You want some ballpark figure or idea of what it's going to cost you so you can plan and budget for that. Well, for your activity, you looked up 4 different fabrics that you want to offer your customer. So they have some choices. Hopefully in the color that they're looking for, there are that many choices. Sometimes there may be more, but they most likely will be different prices. And that price will affect the final price of the garment. So here's just kind of a quick example that I built as I was doing the little lecture. And you can use a spreadsheet. I think in the activity, I listed the different ones. You can use Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel. And if you're on the Mac, you can use Sheets. Either one of those 3 will work to do this. And you can just kind of follow the same layout I have here for naming your different fields. For this one, we made 4 different columns, one for each of the different fabrics, and the fabric pricing is adjusted per each column for the price per that fabric. Now, the direct costs. This one is set up as if the garment was going to take 2 yards. So at $5 a yard, that's going to cost $10 in fabric to use 2 yards. At $10 a yard, for the fabric, I need 2 yards, it's going to cost $20. And that can vary. Now, I just put an easy round number of 2 yards, but that may not be the exact amount. Maybe you use 2.5, maybe you need 3, maybe you need 1 3/4. I don't know. It depends on the style that the client might call for. As well as, if you recall, at the very beginning of this whole assignment, she's looking perhaps for 8 different dresses for people in all variety of sizes. So a size 4 might only need 2 yards, where a size 16 or 18 might require 3.5 yards. So then you may have to finagle or do a broader spreadsheet. But for our purposes, we're just going to do the one sample that our bride was asking for. So the direct costs can depend or vary depending on that amount of the materials used, as well as the amount of the fabric. Now, if you're doing the quote for one style, let's say the bride picked of your 3 different options you gave her, she picked one. Then you can do the quote from that. But let's say she's not sure yet and she wants to know what the difference in prices might be for styles. So in this case, this because the fabric usage is the same, 2 yards for all of the different pricing here, we're assuming this is picked for one style. But maybe for a different style, it's going to use more fabric. And then you base it off of that amountage and then do it again for all 4 different price points on the yard, on the different fabrics. So there can be different factors that you're testing it all out. Now, when it comes down to the salary side of things, labor costs, once a style has been decided on, then that labor cost is fixed. You should have a pretty good idea of what it's going to cost you. Now, along the way, as you're sewing and the client might want to make a change, then you can be upfront and say, this is going to require more time on my part that was not in the original bid. Can I rework you another bid and give you an idea? Or you could just say, I'm going to guesstimate this might change our bid $30 to $50 more, because it's going to require more time on my end to make this change. And that's, a change that the client is asking for. There may be times, though, as you get into working on something, a steps in the sewing might take you a little longer than you anticipated. Well, this time around, you might just have to eat a little bit of that cost on your end and not charge the customer more, just because you kind of misguessed on how long it might take you. But the more that you do sewing, you're going to have a clearer idea of how long it's going to take you. And depending on the style, that labor may change. So in this case, we have the same style. The labor charge for the dress, $125 for sewing it, $20 for any pattern design, and $10 to charge for your time that the customer comes and tries on the dress to check the fit and different things along the way, because that's time out of your day. You do charge for the fittings. And then operational expenses. This is just overall to kind of cover, the additional use of lights and electricity running your machine. Maybe you had to run to the store, but you're getting, supplies for several different jobs or something. So you kind of spread that out. And again, operating costs and expenses are kind of a fixed one spread across. Now, when it does come to giving my bid, I never quite directly tell the customer this is what it broke out to by hour for me to make this, and or this is exactly what I charge per hour, because there may be times that needs to stay flexible. But what I do like to do here is what's represented by the numbers at the total line. So I can say safely, pretty much, your dress would cost for me to make somewhere around $175 to $190. All right, I give them a range. I might even say $175 to $200, just to round that up a little bit. If they are fine with that and it totally covers all your costs, no changes are made along the way, charge the price that you're comfortable with. Even if they said, you know what, I want to go with fabric number 3 and the price is $181. I don't tell them that's the exact price. Again, I would give them a range. I might say for the $8 a yard fabric, your dress may be $180 to $195. It allows for a little bit of that extra cushion room if things took you a little longer. If you come in way under than the expected price, go to the low end of the range. And in this case too, because the customer might be purchasing the same design but in different sizes, but 8 times over, all in the same fabric, all in the same color thread and zippers and all of that, I can consolidate some of my sewing time and processes that I actually, over the expanse of making 8 different dresses, I can condense the time it takes to make a dress by mass producing them, in a sense. So that price can come down per dress. You can say, a single dress may be this price or this range, but if you order all 8 from me, I'll do them all 8 at $180. That way you have agreed at one price, but you're getting the multiple sale. And like I said, when you start to do things in bulk like that, if you're going to sit down and put in a zipper, you just put in 8 zippers immediately, one after the other, and the process gets real fast. You don't have to keep changing between your presser feet back and forth. Do all those steps for all of them, no matter what the sizes are, all at once. Then move on. All the sleeves, all the skirts, all the hems. You do them all like that, and the time it takes to make something actually goes down for you. All right. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on the bid or the quote process if after you've watched the lesson and then kind of after this. So for your assignment, though, you can just show me the spreadsheet that you make and showing the kind of columns and making sure that you've covered, that you've got the costs that for the fabric, any kind of trims would be, this dress has a zipper in it, this dress might have shoulder pads in it, or maybe there are some applique trims or ribbons or anything. Trims and notions fit into that category. You all had production class. We've kind of talked about those before. And then your salary is based on a labor cost. How much time do you think it would take you to make this dress? Let's say you were getting paid $25 an hour. You're saying I can make this dress in 5 hours. If you go for a lower price per hour, but it's going to take you longer hours, it still may come out to be $125. There is a labor or a garment pricing sheet under this lesson so that you can look at that for some general idea, because I know if you've never done it before, you feel like you're just shooting in the wind there and not know what to base it on. So check out that pricing list in the lesson. All right. Next up is getting paid. So be professional. When it comes to the end of the job, please make sure that you provide them with some kind of receipt. Don't be afraid to say, here is the final price. Do have it listed out. Again, I don't separate everything from individual hours and price per hour. I just lump labor all together and or fabric, or just the price of the dress. On that, in the assignment, it does show the an example of an invoice. Excuse me, I forgot something. There's plenty of templates as well with each of the different spreadsheet programs like Sheets, Microsoft Excel, and even in Google Slides. I'm sorry, not Slides, Google Sheets. And there are templates. You're more than welcome to use a template to just have all that laid out, and then you just plug in your information for what you're going to price the dress at and such. You do not have to collect sales tax for labor, but sales tax would need to be charged on the fabric. But if you buy the fabric at retail price and you pay the retail store the sales tax, then you don't double charge your customer sales tax on that. They just get the direct amount that you had to pay for the fabric and sales tax passed on to them. So just keep that in mind as well for that. Anything else here on getting paid? Oh, when you do have a finished garment and the client comes to pick it up, if they don't have the money, or if you're going to accept check to pay you right then, just say, well, why don't I hold on to this till you get that back to me. Even if you know them really well, sometimes those are the hardest people to collect from, because they might just keep putting you off and putting you off. I don't have it with me. I'll pay you next time I see you. Is that all right? Okay, thank you, bye. And then all of a sudden you don't see them for a while, or again, next time you do, they don't have money. So don't let anything out of your possession until you're paid for it. Okay. I've heard too many horror stories. I've experienced my own in doing that. And so sometimes, if you let it out of your hands, chances are slim that you'll get paid for it. So be sure to just be professional. And when you've got that invoice to hand to them, they know you are legit. You mean business. So that kind of helps you back you up. It also helps in your keeping records of your incomes and such, which, don't forget, you do need to file as added income, but you get a system down and that works quite well. I'm going to take a look at that lesson and get some information posted on there, because I realize the topics are in there, but not a whole lot on that. And I do have a very simplified kind of way to keep your records. But when it does come to starting your own little business, get a tax person to help you, because when it does come that time of year, which in our case is right around the corner here in middle of April, you can keep your own books throughout the year, keep your records and invoices and your receipts of things that cost you, you can keep that together, but really having a professional put it together for your taxes is worth their money. They will make sure that things are done correctly for you. They'll know things that can help you out and save you in certain areas that you might not be aware of, because that's not your specialty. Your specialty is designing and making things for people and or other types of services. So I think that is it that I do have on the slides. It is. Again, if you do have questions, I am happy to answer those for you. I'm going to finish sharing here and wrap up our lecture for this afternoon. Thank you very much and have a great weekend.